everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, welcome to my channel. My name is Allie and I am a flight attendant, and I tend to blog about my life as a flight attendant, and sometimes I will sit down and make a video about any flight attendant topics that you guys want me to talk about. So today I decided to sit down and film a video about flight attendant terminology. Now I will be using the terminology that I normally use on a daily basis. A lot of the terminology may vary depending on the airline. I know certain airlines call certain things different things, but this is what my airline calls certain things. And so I decided to sit down and make this video because I find a lot of you asking me questions in the comments on my vlogs like, oh, what is this and what is that? So I wanted to let you guys know what these terms mean. So I made a list of the terminology that I use and wrote them down, and I'm gonna sit here and tell you guys what they mean. I feel like this is gonna be a two-part video just because I actually came out with like 22 different terms, and I don't want this video to be super long. So I will definitely make this a two-part video. Okay, so the first term is line holder. So a line holder is someone who knows where they're going, who they're flying with, and when they are flying. I am a line holder, so the 17th of every month I get my schedule, and I know, like I said, where I'm going, who I'm going to be working with. For the most part, that can always change because people do move their schedules around. For example, I am a line holder. I have been a line holder for about a year. I've been at my airline for close to 2 years. And it took me about a year actually to hold a line. I got a line 6 months in, but then I was on and off reserve, which I'll get to reserve in a minute. And I have been a line holder ever since. So because I am a line holder, I am able to have a little bit more control of my schedule. For example, now I am staying home more with my son. I am dropping all of my trips and only picking up red-eyes or 2-day trips on the weekend, 2 or 3 day trips on the weekend, so that I can be home with him. Usually line holders are able to do that. And because I'm able to do that, now I am sitting here in my own house making this video for you. So that'll be a good thing. I will be able to do a little bit more of these videos. Okay, so reserve. Reserve is an on-call flight attendant. It depends on the airline how long you will be on call for and how many days. When I was on reserve, we would have reserve A, B, and C. Reserve A was from midnight till 10 a.m. Reserve B was from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Reserve C was from 2 p.m. till 11:59 p.m. Some airlines, however, require you to be on reserve or on call for 24 hours at a time, you know, for 2 or 3 days at a time. So it depends on the airline. My airline just so happened to do it that way. Ready reserve. Ready reserve is someone who is sitting at the airport ready to go in case they need to just help board the plane, because you need a certain amount of flight attendants depending on the aircraft in order for you to start boarding a plane. Or someone that is just going to sit there and wait to get called on a trip and replace a flight attendant. Sometimes you get used, sometimes you don't get used. Some people call it airport appreciation because you get to walk around and get to know the airport very well. I only sat ready reserve twice while I was on reserve, and that is actually how I got into YouTube, because I had nothing to do. So the next term is pairing. So whenever you hear me say on a vlog pairing, I mean trip. So my pairing will be, you know, I'm going from, for example, the last pairing I just did was Dallas to Oakland, Oakland, LA, LA, New Orleans. And that's day 1 of the pairing. Day 2 of the pairing was New Orleans, Atlanta. That's day 2. Day 3 was Atlanta, Chicago, Chicago, Dallas, and that was it. So it was just a 3-day pairing or a 3-day trip. Something that I actually get asked quite frequently. A chaser means you're the extra position in a certain aircraft. So, for example, our Airbus 320 requires 4 flight attendants on board at all times. Now, there's a pairing with the 3 people that are on a trip for the entire duration of the trip, and then there's a chaser who has her own pairing, his or her own pairing. You're pretty much by yourself. And when I say by yourself, you don't always go to the layover together. So I will, let's say, for example, do 2, let's say I have 4 legs, right? Let's say I have 4 legs. And out of those 4 legs, I'm going to be with one crew for 2 legs, and then I'm going to get another crew for the other 2 legs, and then they may get off to go to the layover, or I may get off to go to the layover. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, please ask me in the questions below. It's a little weird to describe. I guess since I've been doing it for a while, it makes sense to me, but I know for a lot of you it won't make sense. And then you have the 321 pairings, which is 2 chasers that are strictly on the 321. You are only on the Airbus A321 aircraft the entire time. The Airbus 321 requires 5 flight attendants. This is our 321. I know other airlines 321s fit a lot less people, so they need less flight attendants. So yeah, so sometimes I will be on an Airbus A321 for the entire time, and that is a 321 chaser pairing. So it's 2 flight attendants that are together for the entire trip. Okay, the next term is lead. The lead flight attendant is usually the one that is in charge of the cabin, not necessarily above. Your authority does not go above the captain's authority, but you are kind of like in charge. You're in contact with the pilots at all times. You talk to the gate agents. You're the one that makes the announcement when you reach 10,000 feet. You are in charge, but it's not necessarily that you are like, you know, a supervisor or anything like that. It's just a lot more responsibility because in case of an evacuation, you are the one that will get the instructions from the pilot or the captain. And my airline pays you actually $2 more an hour if you decide to fly lead. Sometimes you can get juniored into flying lead, or sometimes you are the most senior person, so you are the one that's been there the longest and decides to fly lead. So, for example, on my last trip, I decided to fly lead just because I wanted to make the extra $2, I guess. And it's always nice to fly lead just so that I can get a refresher of what I'm doing, or what the lead position entitles. So I was the most senior, so I decided to fly lead. Sometimes I will fly with more senior people, and they would say, oh, so she's the junior one, let's make her fly lead. So, which I've done that before when Ashton and I buddy bid, we will fly in the back, and then just because we want to fly together in the back, and then the most junior person will fly lead. However, in my airline, you have to be off probation in order for you to fly lead, unless you are flying with other people that are on probation and you are the most senior. Then you have no choice but to fly lead. Block. So whenever I say the trip was blocked at 24 hours, or the trip was blocked at 18 hours, whatever, I mean, or the flight is blocked at, whatever, I mean that is how long the flight is supposed to be, or the trip is supposed to be. So whenever I say, oh yeah, I'm flying from Dallas to Atlanta and it's blocked at, I don't know, an hour 46 minutes, that means it's scheduled to fly to be as long as an hour and 48 minutes. So that's what I mean by block. But it can also mean my block for this month is 90 hours. So that means I'm actually working 90 hours. Now, this takes me to my next term, which is credit. The difference between block and credit is that block is what I actually worked, credit is what I'm actually getting paid for. So, for example, this month I am blocked at 90 hours, meaning I'm working 90 hours, but I'm getting paid for 93. My credit is 93 hours, but I'm actually working 90 hours. And usually that's because, we got stuck on the tarmac, or we got to Deadhead, or the company had to pay me 2 hours more for whatever reason. Deadhead. Deadhead is when you are a passenger and you have a confirmed seat, but you are getting flown out by the company to go somewhere. So, for example, when one of my last pairings ended with a deadhead. So I had to work the trip, did whatever I had to do, and then I was deadheaded from Oakland to Dallas. So I was in a passenger seat the entire time. I was getting paid as if I was working the flight, but they were just flying me home. So sometimes you can work your way around a deadhead. So for example, one time our flight was canceled in LA, and the company was gonna deadhead me out the next day to go home. I didn't want to wait that long, so I tried to go on another airline and fly standby and see if they had any flights. And then once I was able to get a confirmed seat, then I had to call crew scheduling and ask for an alternate deadhead. I was still going to get paid the same amount. It's just that they were going to remove me from the deadhead the next day and I can get home a day earlier. I hope that makes sense. Which takes me to the last term, which is non-rev. Non-rev is when you are a non-revenue passenger, meaning you are flying standby. So just like I said earlier, when I took the alternate deadhead, I had to non-rev on another airline, and you pretty much list yourself on the system where you go and see all the airlines that you have benefits with, and you list yourself. You go up to the gate agent and you just stay there waiting for them to say, okay, we have a seat for you. And that is when you are non-revving. You're a non-revenue passenger, or also called jump seating, meaning where you can sit on the flight attendant jump seat, which can come in handy sometimes. Alright guys, that concludes the first part of this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope that a lot of these made sense, and I hope I was able to answer some of your questions as far as the terminology, the flight attendant terminology. I'm not that great at explaining certain things sometimes, but like I said, I hope you guys were able to understand what I was trying to get at. There are a lot of flight attendant bloggers or vloggers that have videos like this, which is good, because when I was trying to become a flight attendant, there weren't so many. So I know that a lot of my favorite YouTubers have a lot of this flight attendant terminology. I know for sure Jenny Ernst has one. I don't know if you guys know who Jenny Ernst is, which I'm sure you guys do, because she's this great flight attendant vlogger. And then you also have Fly with Stella, who has a video, I think she does. And then Trolley Dolly 91, which is Lindsay Lee. She has a terminology video too. So you guys can check those out as well if I didn't answer any of yours. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in part 2 of this video. Bye! Okay, which takes me to the last term, which is non-rev. Non-rev is when you're a non-revenue... Non-revenue is... Non-rev...